Christianity and spiritual growth. How to grow when you feel stuck. Have you ever felt stuck in your Christian life? You still believe in God. You may still pray, read the Bible, and go to church, but spiritually you feel like you are not moving forward. Your prayers may feel repetitive. Bible reading may feel dry. You may not feel as close to God as you once did. And that can make you wonder, am I really growing as a Christian? The good news is that spiritual growth in Christianity is not measured only by feelings. The Bible shows us that spiritual growth is the process of becoming more like Christ in our character, decisions, faith, and relationships. Before we go further, think about your own journey. Have you ever experienced a season when you felt spiritually stuck? Share your experience in the comments. It may encourage someone else going through the same thing. And if these simple Bible teachings help you, like this video and subscribe so we can continue growing together. So what can you do when you feel spiritually stuck? First, understand what Christian spiritual growth really means. Spiritual growth is not simply knowing more Bible verses, sounding more religious, or praying for longer periods. Real spiritual growth is about becoming more like Jesus. Galatians chapter 5 describes the fruit of the Spirit as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These qualities help us measure growth in a practical way. Are you becoming more patient? Are you learning to forgive? Are you becoming more honest? Are you controlling your anger better? Are you trusting God more during difficult situations? Sometimes the strongest evidence that God is working in you is not a dramatic spiritual experience. It is a gradual change in your character. Second, stay connected to Christ. In John chapter 15, Jesus compared himself to a vine and his followers to branches. A branch cannot produce fruit if it is disconnected from the vine. In the same way, Christians cannot expect spiritual growth while living disconnected from Christ. We remain connected to him through prayer, scripture, worship, obedience, and fellowship with other believers. Spiritual growth usually requires consistency. You do not need to pray for hours every day. Start with regular, sincere prayer. You do not need to read many chapters of the Bible every morning. Read a smaller passage and try to understand it deeply. Consistency is often more powerful than intensity. Third, change the way you study the Bible. Bible study is essential for Christian spiritual growth, but it should not become only an exercise in collecting information. When you read Scripture, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What does this passage teach me about God? What does it reveal about my own life? And what should I do because of what I have learned? If you read about forgiveness, ask, is there someone I need to forgive? If you read about trusting God, ask, where am I struggling to trust Him? James chapter 1 teaches Christians not to be hearers of the word only, but also doers. Christianity is not simply about knowing biblical truth. It is about allowing that truth to transform the way we live. Fourth, pray honestly. Some Christians believe that prayer must always sound confident and positive, but the Bible shows something different. The Psalms contain prayers filled with joy, but also fear, sadness, confusion, and difficult questions. People asked God how long. They cried out when they were suffering. This teaches us that honest prayer is still faithful prayer. If you feel spiritually weak, tell God. If you are confused, tell Him. If you are struggling with doubt, bring that doubt to Him. God already knows your heart. Prayer is not about pretending to be spiritually strong. It is about bringing your real self before God. Fifth, identify what is weakening your spiritual life. Hebrews chapter 12 encourages believers to lay aside every weight and the sin that easily entangles them. Not everything that weakens your spiritual life is necessarily sinful. Sometimes it is a distraction. It could be constant entertainment, too much social media, an unhealthy relationship, excessive work, comparison, worry, or simply a schedule with no space for God. Ask yourself, what receives most of my time and attention? What regularly distracts me from prayer, scripture, worship, and obedience? If one distraction immediately comes to mind, write it in the comments, even in one word. Naming it can be the first step toward changing it. And if this teaching is helping you examine your walk with God, liking the video helps more people discover this kind of Bible-based content. Sometimes spiritual growth requires adding good habits. At other times it requires removing what is taking too much space. Sixth, stop comparing your Christian journey with someone else's journey. Comparison can destroy spiritual confidence. You may see someone who knows the Bible better, prays longer, or appears to have stronger faith. Then you begin to think that you are failing, but spiritual growth is not a competition. In John chapter 21, Peter asked Jesus about another disciple. Jesus redirected Peter's attention to his own responsibility. The message was simple: you follow me. Instead of asking whether you are growing faster than someone else, ask, am I more faithful than I was before? Am I learning? Am I becoming more like Christ? That is what matters. Seventh, understand that difficult seasons can produce deep spiritual growth. We often imagine that spiritual growth happens when life is peaceful, but some of the deepest lessons in Christianity are learned through difficulty. Romans chapter 5 teaches that suffering can produce perseverance, character, and hope. James chapter 1 says that trials can develop endurance. You may learn patience because you had to wait. You may learn compassion because you experienced pain. You may learn trust because you faced something you could not control. Sometimes you feel spiritually stuck because you cannot see what God is doing. Think about a tree. For a season, nothing dramatic may appear above the ground, but underneath, the roots may be growing deeper. Your spiritual life can be similar. God may be strengthening your faith in ways that are not immediately visible. Eighth, stay connected to other Christians. Christianity was never designed to be lived completely alone. The New Testament shows believers praying together, encouraging one another, teaching one another, and carrying one another's burdens. Isolation can make spiritual discouragement worse. Sometimes you need someone to pray with you. Sometimes you need someone to challenge you. Sometimes you need wisdom from someone who has already walked through what you are experiencing. A healthy Christian community can help you grow. Ninth, practice what you already know. Sometimes Christians keep searching for new teachings while ignoring what God has already shown them. Maybe you know that you need to forgive someone. Maybe you need to apologize. Maybe there is a habit you need to stop. Maybe you know that you need to pray more consistently. In that situation, the next step in spiritual growth may not be learning something new. It may simply be obedience. Knowledge becomes spiritual growth when it changes our actions. Finally, be patient with the process. Spiritual growth takes time. A seed does not become a tree in one day. Christian maturity develops gradually. There will be progress, mistakes, questions, and difficult seasons. Philippians chapter 1 verse 6 gives Christians an important encouragement. Paul expressed confidence that the God who began a good work in believers would continue that work. Your spiritual growth does not depend only on your own strength. God is also working in you. Your responsibility is to keep responding to Him. Keep praying. Keep studying the Bible. Keep obeying. Keep returning to God when you fail. Keep trusting Him when you do not understand. And keep following Jesus. So if you feel spiritually stuck, do not immediately assume that your faith is failing. Stay connected to Christ. Study the Bible carefully. Pray honestly. Remove distractions. Stop comparing yourself with others. Stay connected to Christian community. Practice what you already know, and be patient with the process. Christianity is not only about feeling inspired, it is about becoming more like Christ. And that is a lifelong journey. Before you leave, think about one practical step you can take today to strengthen your spiritual life. Maybe it is returning to daily prayer, reading scripture more intentionally, forgiving someone, removing a distraction, or reconnecting with other believers. Share that one step in the comments. It can become your personal commitment and may inspire someone else. If this video helped you, like it and subscribe for more simple Christian teachings on faith, Bible study, spiritual growth, and everyday life with God. Do not give up. God is still working in you.